let me introduce David to you. When I sold Radar Busters back in 2007, I wanted to take a hiatus from internet marketing. I was very successful with that company. But hey, I had my second opportunity to retire, and I went through and also had some money I could spend. And one of the first things on my bucket list was to learn how to fly an airplane. So I bought an airplane. You might see it out there in the hangar. And you usually don't buy an airplane while you're learning to fly. But I want to learn. I'm committed to this. To be honest with you, one of the reasons I wanted to learn how to fly because I'm scared of heights. All right, I'm deathly scared of heights. And I figured if I made the investment and stick with it, that I'd eventually learn how to fly. So anyway, I flew down to I didn't fly down, I drove down to the flight school. And I said, hey, I got this airplane, I want to learn how to fly. Well, David's in the office. He goes, all right, get him away from me. You guys take him, Because maybe David will explain a little bit better why I just scared him, So one of the other instructors said, okay, I'll take you up to fly. And one of my first flights, the instructor says, Roy, I'm going to teach you how not to fly an airplane. Okay, sounds fun. Well, he's doing pitches, turns, and all this other stuff. And in about 5 minutes, I'm ready to puke my guts out. All right? And I landed, I walked out, and I walked into the office. Dave was in there. I said, look, I'm never going to fly with that guy again. I didn't come here to learn not how to fly a plane. I came here to learn how to fly a plane. And David goes, okay, I'll take the guy up. Well, we became very close friends during this, and Dave is a very proficient pilot, but Dave was interested in internet marketing. Because maybe David could explain, but by flying commercial airlines, you're going to be away from home for 2-3 days and come back home. And his ultimate goal was to have his family and a growing family. And that was going to take him out of the picture. So David and I came up with a pact. David, you teach me how to fly in the morning, and then in the afternoon, I would teach you how to do internet marketing. And so David became a very successful internet marketer. I don't know if I became a good pilot. I'll let David explain that. But Dave, I'm alive. And I've been able to get through 2 emergency landings without an engine on. Okay. So Dave, thank you, for helping me learn how to fly. And let's take it from there, my friend.
All right, man. Yeah, the moral of that story is when somebody walks in and say they bought a brand new airplane and want to learn how to fly, you turn them down. It's just the unspoken rule in flying. But yeah, we had a lot of fun. Still have a lot of fun. It's hard to believe it's been I don't even know how many years it is now, but we've been on a journey together, and it's been turning out well. Some days that's one of the things about life is there is no perfect journey. That's one of the biggest lies that are out there in the internet marketing space, where they say make $1 million online. You can, but the issue is it's not a perfect journey. It's not the same for everybody, and the journey for you is going to be a lot different than me, just because of who I am and who you are. But the principles or the underlying laws are the same. If we apply the laws, you will be successful. And internet marketing is just one way. I get into a lot of big businesses. I'm very fortunate to go in and sit down in a boardroom, and they'll open their books to me. They'll open everything up to me, and I review it and analyze their marketing, their return on investment, their entire strategies. And I see underlying principles in all of them. Internet marketing is just one way to make money. It's not a get-rich-quick scheme. It's not a win the lottery type concept. It's just our way of expressing ourselves in business. And the more that we understand that, the better that it is. This is a business. This is, hopefully for all of us, our livelihood. And taking it that next step. One of the main questions I have is, how do you make $1 million online? Everybody wants to make $1 million online. My response is, what does $1 million internet marketing company look like? If you had to sit down and map out $1 million company, what would it look like? How many employees would it have? What would the office look like? How many websites or what all does that look like? Because once that's figured out, it's just a checklist. He's talking about being a pilot. One reason why I love internet marketing, it's kind of like a checklist. I can flip it open and say, engine start checklist. Okay, if I do this, this, and this, that engine's going to start. Internet marketing is the same way. This is what the SEO roadmap is founded on. We wanted a basic checklist style concept that if you do all of these, success can be there. Another principle that I've been working on, and those of you that don't know, I am involved in the leadership concepts quite a bit. I am a certified leadership coach consultant. So I love leadership principles because everything rises and falls on leadership. Everything. I know this is a statement that I don't like for myself, but I am as successful financially, physically, mentally, emotionally as I have invested in myself and how I am. The law of mirror states that whatever I see in the mirror is what is around me. If I look at myself and see myself as a level 3 leader, everything around me will be level 3. But if I invest in myself and raise my level to a level 4, level 5, everything around me becomes that. The law of attraction states that you will attract what you are. If you are, I don't want to be negative here, but if you're unsuccessful, it's the law of attraction. You're putting out unsuccessful things. And it's the whole thing, if you keep replicating that's what you're currently doing, if you replicate tomorrow what you did today, you're going to have the exact same result. So we have to constantly raise our game. The successful people out there have done that. And it's powerful. And the difference between bad and good is very, very small. The people that are making no money and the people who are making $10,000 a month online, very, very small. Now, the people that are going from 10,000 to 1 million is very, very large because it's constantly growing. It's constantly expanding. Instead of being one guy in a computer, now it's one guy and 15 people. And it takes different styles of leadership and different styles of internet marketing concepts because I don't know how to program in a .NET platform. I don't know how to program at all. Just ask Steven. So I now have to relate with somebody. I have to bring other people on to expand my ability. And it changes my perspective of myself. Now I have to look at it differently. So today we're going to give you the technical principles, but hopefully I can also say we've got to focus in on ourselves and learn these concepts some. And if it's not a part of our gifts, find someone to come alongside of us and do this. Roy and I have done this. I always use the analogy. He busts the door down, and I walk in after with my suit and tie on and close the deal. He does, man. He can get into a lot of different places, and then I deal with the client long term, and he goes on to the next door. Same thing with this concept. So we need each other, and we're only as strong as the people around us. One of the things out there that is a lot of my best thinking is done by other people. You look at other people and find out what they're doing and do it yourself. Because there is no originality out there. There's nothing new under the sun. We just have to figure out the success. The issue with internet marketing is there's a lot of gurus out there that are preaching success. But if you could actually step back and look at these guys, and Roy and I know most of these guys, if you actually look at what they're doing, they're spending a lot of money to make a lot of money. They say, I made $10 million. They didn't tell you that they spent 9.5 to get to 10. So there's a lot of things there. We want to show you how to be successful long term. We want to see this 5 years from now that you're sitting where you want. And some success will be different for different people's. And we've actually had students that got into internet marketing and were teaching leadership principles, and they realized that wasn't their heart, and they decided to go to a different direction. But I want you to focus in on what you love, because if you don't focus in on what you love, it becomes a very long and dry life. As a background on myself, most of you know me a little bit. I am married. My family's out in the RV right now doing school. I have 4 kids and 1 on the way. So we are a traveling road crew. We got everybody, yeah. We got pretty much a whole basketball team, football team, pretty much anything that we want.
David, you want to go around and have everybody introduce themselves?
So before we really get into this is a place for you to get to know each other too, because you're going to learn stuff off of each other, sometimes more than off of us, because you can ask questions back and forth and things like that. So what I do, I want to go around the room here a little bit. Some of you I already know, but some of you is a brand new acquaintance, and I'm looking forward to getting to know you more. I'm always amazed at the quality of people that show up and I can interact with, and we always look forward to the after and during breaks and stuff like that, getting to know each other. So I'm going to start over here on this side. And if we can just go across and introduce ourselves.
I'm Lisa, and I've been a website project manager for corporate sites for about 15 years, and I've been doing SEO and pay-per-click as a specialty for the last year and a half. And I'm looking to start my own consulting business for a few clients. So that's what I'm looking to get out of this, is to really jump to the next level.
Awesome.
My name is Gail Wright from Pennsylvania, just outside of Philadelphia. And I realize that I have a lot to learn. Things change every day, and that's what I want to do.
Awesome. Good.
So I'm Valerie Marbach. I stupidly bought a franchise about 9 months ago and knew nothing about this except for sales and marketing. So I've done a lot of reading and training on my own, and supposedly my franchise had all this wonderful training. So I've gone to your meetups, and they are amazing. And so I want to learn more so I can really be confident about what I'm doing.
Oh.
Hi, my name is Gayles. I'm from Europe. I came out here because until 6 months ago, I thought I knew about SEO. But then after Penguin and Panda came and ruined my life, then I decided I had to come and talk to the big boys and learn from them.
And where did you come from today, or for this training?
I flew all the way from Lyon, France. I live in South France, and I came because, to play big, you gotta come.
I'm Ken Netherland. Own a company called Mind Chemistry as well as Cloud Ideas, and we are a cloud services startup company, and we are looking to integrate SEO into our products. So,
we had somebody that has had an issue with a furry little problem. This doesn't have our brand on it, but we had this laying around. I think it's very appropriate to give you a memento of your demise. We want to be a family. One of my goals in life is to have people around me that are like-minded. You've heard the saying probably that you're as successful as the 6 closest people around you. And if you average the average income of your 6 closest friends, that'll be your income. And sometimes that can be good, and sometimes it's bad, because the people that you start out your journey with are probably not the people that you'll end your journey with. Just because of growth and success causes you to like different things and to become differently. And sometimes that can cause complications, with family and friends that you grew up with, but your focus changes. The person I am today is totally different than the person I was 5 years ago. I've been on a massive growth and development plan. I want to succeed, and I have to become successful to do that. But in the process of that, some of the people that I used to like being around, they're talking about March Madness. And I'm sitting there going, do I really care if Marquette wins by a point? It's not, the focus there isn't as much. I have higher priorities. So this concept of here, we want to become like a family. And our advanced SEO training class goes on to more things. We are here for you afterwards. We are a part of a group. You're going to be seeing some new things that we're getting ready to launch that are going to make that even better. We want to have it so you have full access to us on an easier basis. So it's not just coming all the way from France to workshop. It's you get online and meet us and talk and throughout the weeks and months. Now, because it's the advanced, I want you to talk a little bit about the 3 and the 5 year projection goal of what you see. So if you can talk about in 3 years, this is where I want to be, or 5 years, this is where I want to be, because I want you to start verbalizing what that looks like. Go back to a checklist concept. If I want to make a flight from here to New York, I can sit down and say, okay, I got a fuel stop in Lubbock, Texas. I got a fuel stop in Oklahoma City. I can map that out. If you start saying in 3 to 5 years, I want to be, if you want to have a company the size of Microsoft, you're going to have to look down and say, what would I have to do to be there? It's a pretty good goal. Or if you say, I want to be X, that way we can start looking at that. So I want to go back around here a little bit, and just because he walked in, I would like to introduce Fabiano. He is a part of the TKO SEO Roadmap team. He's my right-hand man. he handles all of the client acquisition side and handles all the sales reps through TKO marketing. So he follows me everywhere. I can't get rid of the guy. No, I want him to follow me everywhere because it eases my workload substantially, especially when I'm in workshops and stuff like this. I know he's plowing away on some proposals right now that we have to get out today. So we'll be interacting and talking business on some of this too. But I want to now step back here. 3 and 5 year goal. It may be very close in the same projection. Feel free to talk about it personally too. My personal goal is to establish TKO marketing so I can step out as the CEO. I can still run it, but day-to-day operations, I'm not a part of it. Because we have the SEO roadmap. I have my personal side with business coaching and consulting. I work with the John Maxwell team. I could be in Guatemala in 2 months if I can work this out. But so there's different goals that we have. So begin writing this down if you can. Since we started over here last time, I want to stop back here with Ken and really quickly talk about your 3 and 5 year goal.
3-year goal. I would say that I could quit my 9 to 5 job and focus on my 5 to 9 job. So that's actually a 1-year goal. 3 years, I'd like to make, my mission is to make my interns successful. And I've done that with a few of them, but I'd like to see a lot more of my interns become more successful. I had one intern that became a vice president of a marketing company, so she's making more money than me now. So, but that's okay. So yeah, that's my 3-year goal, to make a lot more people successful. 5-year goal, I would like to have a well-established business and would like to make myself obsolete within my business, meaning that I'm not doing everything, that I have other people to do those things for me.
What's the revenue side look like that at 5 years?
Revenue side, I would say maybe a $500,000 a year.
Wrong. Self-limiting belief. What would $500,000 do? That's a self-limiting belief. What would a 5-year successful business look like? So
5 year?
Yeah, 5 years from now, for you to step out and have a team run things. What's a? I mean, if you're looking at a $500,000 business, you're looking at probably having $100,000 of overhead, staff, business. I'm just trying to get you to think, what is the maximum, or what's the ultimate there?
$5 million.
$5 million? Would $5 million be able to? You'd have your company, you'd have your intern set up, and be able to run properly. That to you would be the success. The question becomes, what does success look like? Because what success looks like and what self-limiting belief is 2 different things. The only time you're successful is if your core matches up with your action. This is one of the hardest things I had to learn. My core wasn't always matching up with my actions. My personality is bounce everywhere. I am. I love different ideas and concepts. I can work on a new concept and just thrive off of it. But it is, for success, you can't just be all over the place. So I have a hard time matching up my core to what my actions are. Finding that is the key. When I hear 500, that's not wrong, 500,000 or $500,000 or something like this. But what would that be where you can sit back and relax and say, okay, I have been successful?
20 million.
What changes? What changes when you start looking at how would I view myself as being successful versus what success could be? It's how we look at ourselves. When I look at the mirror and say, I'm being successful or I'm not, changes how I interact every day. If I see myself as being successful every day, I love it. My actions are doing really, really good. Things are happening. Roland and I have been having a discussion. We restructured TKO quite a bit. And I projected a 6-month strategy to restructure from where we were to where we are now with sales reps, different things. I was like 15, 30 days off my projections, and I'm mad at myself, which is crazy. I'm like 5% off my projections, which should be phenomenal. But to me, success was driven in my mind so much. Now I'm getting back in the stride of it again, and it looks like it's working out. probably almost exactly the way I did it. And it's successful. I'm energized by it because my core and what I'm doing match up. So when we're doing this, don't limit your belief. And I would really suggest, I do not have it with me, there's a book out there called Laws of Success by Napoleon Hill. If you want to be successful in life, that needs to be at your nightstand. Absolutely. Laws of Success. Has everybody heard of the book Think and Grow Rich? Basically, I forgot the first name, Rockefeller proofed the laws of success with Napoleon Hill and said that book is too complicated, the average American will not be able to understand it, dumb it down. Napoleon Hill did and dumbed it down to the Think and Grow Rich book, which is the best-selling self-motivation and self-worth book out there. That's Think and Grow Rich. Laws of Success is the big, thick book. There's 21 laws, I believe. No, 17 laws in that one. That is a must. That book has changed my life. There's some things I don't believe in it. It is not a book you're just going to sit down and read. I've read through it probably 5 or 6 different times, and I still read through it and get a lot of help out of it. It talks about laws of the mastermind, getting people together like-minded, laws of positive thinking, of redoing your thought process. Some of the bloodiest battles are in your head. If you actually think how you treat yourself in your mind, it's brutal. And getting outside of that is really, really good to do. 20 million interns. How does the interns fit into this business model at the successful range?
They are part of it. I mean, my interns, I have I have a CFO intern, so he does my books. I have a project manager that's an intern, so actually I have 2 project managers, so they both run the projects. So I would like to be able to hire them, at market rate salaries. So that's another goal of mine. But my focus is on them and getting. I unfortunately have a turnover because these people get the skills they need and they go out into the real world. So that bothered me for a while, but then I began to embrace that. Good. Because it seemed like that every time I let someone go because they were moving on with their dream, I got 3 people or 5 people in their place. So that's where my focus, and that's why I haven't mapped out my money plan. But so that's the approach that I take with my business.
Do you need venture capital to do this?
No, my goal is to self-fund.
Self-fund? Do you have any people that are assisting you? And I'll just rephrase this. When I'm building a business, there is the business side and there is the personal side. Do you have anybody that is coaching or where you have an interaction with to bounce your ideas back and forth?
Yes, I just recruited a board of directors. So I don't know if anyone's heard of Apollo Group. Mm-hmm. I have on my board the guy that took Apollo Group from a small business to an international business.
That's one of the biggest missing elements I see is having a sounding board that's outside of the business that you can really talk with and unload to a point, but they can advise you. Sometimes it's a mentorship, sometimes it's a coach. It all depends where you are in your walk. Typically, a mentorship is the start-out phase up to a certain point, and then it goes to a coach, because a coach's main priority is just to be your best friend and to ask the right questions, because you have the power within you to answer the questions. It's your business. You love it. You don't need a mentor. You need a coach, someone to just keep you on the track. So I'm glad I hear that, because that's one of the biggest missing elements I actually see.
Yeah, I have a couple more like that too. So.
Good. All right, let's jump up here. 3-year, 5-year, and some of your goals.
3 years. Well, my goal is not in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years is the same. Right now, my goal is to be able to be free. That's what I do. I love. I've been doing business online since 2007, and that gave me was the freedom to travel the world. I lived in Australia, South America, UK, Italy. Right now I live in France. And that's what makes me happy. When I had a big team, I used to have 10 employees. I was worried about what was going on, blah, blah, blah. It's not about making money. I want to be able to have the knowledge. That's why I'm here. to keep moving and not being attached. People, once you start making a lot of money, I was making a lot of money online, but I was also worried about losing that money. And that's not the way I want to live. I don't want to be scared all the time, like, oh, I'm losing my money, blah, 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 blah. I just want to make sure I have the knowledge to keep being able to travel and have a stable business. That's it.
So you're not looking at establishing a company where you're separate from it. You're looking at just where you can handle.
I have a company that it was well known, and right now is downhill because it's nowhere in the rankings. But as I said before, like even if you're making a lot of money, you're attached. You need to be at the office. You need to do a lot of things. When I was making good money and I had 2 employees or 1, I was able to take a plane and go to London for the weekend or for 2 weeks or do whatever. If you're big, you're just a slave, most or less. I don't want that. I want to be able to do whatever I want, whenever I want.
Where would be your, you've been over quite a few different countries. What does that 5-year look like? Is it constant travel or is it,
Yeah, well, my goals are that. In 5 years, I want to make sure I lived in China, Japan, and a few more other places. I want to travel. That's my goal. Well, how I can travel? Well, by doing business online,
Especially now with the open marketplace.
Yeah,
we've got internet everywhere.
If I have a blog or whatever, right now, if I have to change the market or do something else, I just want to make enough money to keep moving with. And
what does that enough money look like? Just to verbalize.
I don't know, 10,000 a month. Okay. With 10,000 a month, you can be very happy and travel and do whatever.
Is that euro, pounds, or dollars? Because that's a big difference.
That's euros. But yeah, I was doing a lot more than that, and I was doing great. But every morning I was waking up and saying, "Oh my God, where are my sites? What's going on?" So my goal is to have the knowledge to make sure I'm there, even if it's to only make 10,000 or 5,000. Yeah, that's the way I see it.
Good.
What does that equate to dollars?
Now?
That's 14,000.
Yeah. Is it 1.48 or?
Yeah. With that, you can rent a car or the caravan and travel around Australia or whatever.
You have to call me. I'll come with. That's one of my goals too. Is to.
Yeah, I've done it, and it's great. Like I don't have a mortgage. I don't have anything right now. If you tell me, guys, let's go cross the entire Canada from one side to the other, let's go. I don't have nothing. It's like I don't have to worry about any bills or anything like that, and that's what I want to keep doing. If I don't have that freedom, then yeah, I'm in trouble.
If I was in the personal coaching side, I would ask the family side of this. Yeah, but what does success look family-wise?
Family-wise, well, I come in Europe right now. People, or I don't know, everywhere else probably is like we all have a girlfriend or whatever, but getting married and kids is not like a big thing in Europe. No,
you miss out on the fun. Just saying.
Well, it will come, I suppose. It will come, but it's not as easy like probably in the United States. Europe, like Paris, 50 square meter apartment is 3,000 euros. Something like that. It's too expensive to have a kid. Let's put it that way.
All right, cool.
All right.
Cool.
So I struggle in the sense that I'm kind of like Gayles, where I know money's not everything, and I think that's a lot of us. But then I also want to be successful. So I'm still in that whole debacle. But I would say 3 years. This is what I set as a goal. I want to be at least 100K in revenue. Because
a year.
A year. Because right now, and that seems low, but right now I'm like at a loss. So to me, that's success. But 5 years, I hate management, but I think I want to have about 3 to 5 employees so I can do like what Gayles got, because I love to travel. And that's one thing I'm missing in my current life is so once a quarter, I really would love to take a trip and afford it and do what I want to do. And then my practice. I want to have. I know where it's going to be. I have all that laid out. But it's really to have balance and where I can concentrate more on business development because that's what I love.
Okay.
And have the guys but my team be total family, like I guess how you guys are.
Okay.
So
family, not relatives. Family.
No, hate
So
relatives.
that's the first rule of business.
Hate relatives. And my revenue, I was thinking about $1 to $2 million. I want to be at that point. So I think I could afford to pay my people well and all that good stuff.
Is that the low end of your thought, or is the high end? Is that a big reach? Are you saying $1 to $2 million because you think you personally can achieve that?
Yes.
So.
Well, I don't know if I personally can achieve that, actually. That looks wonderful to me. But then when I look at it and to say, well, if I have employees and all that, I'm probably not making a lot of money. But maybe it's enough based on, because I really want balance. I don't have kids, but right now I feel like a slave. I think we've all done the corporate slavitude, and I don't want to do that.
One of the concepts here is life is a season. If you can start understanding the seasonal concept, I am in the spring season right now. I am sowing and plowing and cleaning the fields very, very hard. It's a season. But I do know that the summer and the fall harvest is coming right down behind it. Don't take a holiday in the springtime. This is one of the biggest limiting beliefs, and what happens is people they start to get successful, and what do? They take a holiday. The law of momentum states that it's much easier to keep something rolling than to get something started. So when you start momentum, don't stop. Push as hard as you can. Then once the momentum is in full force, then it's summer and fall. Go party. Because typically it happens where you get to the top, you party and have success, and what happens? It tanks. Where if you just spent another 30% longer time, you could have created another property or more insurance for yourself that when you are going out, something like this. Jim Rohn has a statement that I really love also. It says, I'll ask the question here, how many have a full-time job? So about half. He says, you work full-time on your job and part-time on your fortune. That's the concept. And to do that you put 8 hours in your job and part-time on your fortune. Because we have to get that fortune concept enough to support us to go full-time into it. And sometimes that's not easily done, but it can be done. But the seasonal concept states that before long, it's going to be harvest time, and at that point, we party hard because we have to. But at some point, you have to get back into it. I've seen some guys do a rotational lifestyle where over the winter months, they'll sit someplace for 4 or 5 months straight, lock some, maybe in China, but lock some stuff down, and then for the rest of the 8 months, they're doing a 2-month rotation, because upkeep of life has to happen too. But we can do this as long as we understand the seasonal concept and understand that if we designate certain blocks of time to really plow into things, you'll happen, because we often overestimate what can be done in one day and underestimate what can be done in many days. Sometimes I'll sit down and say, I can get this all done in a day, and it takes me 3 days to finish it. So if you designate blocks of time, okay, I'm going to designate January, and I'm going to kill myself in January to be able to go in February, March, then it can really take place. Gail, 3 and 5.
Well, to be honest, I've never really thought of a 3 or 5 year plan at all. I've worked at corporations and I guess been a slave to the corporate structure and helping to make the company successful, and basically never stopped to think about what I wanted. That's where I am now. For me, I need to make sure that I'm covered financially for my home. Love to be able to travel. That would be wonderful. That's an extra, but I'm more at a basic level of survival. That's why I'm here. And nobody has ever asked me about a 3 or 5 year plan. So I guess I've never had a mentor or a coach. And
there is a story here. There is some sometimes we have to have our priorities change in life, and it can happen at a drop of a hat. And when that happens, it does refocus us.
Yeah.
And a 3 to 5 year plan for you may look totally different. It may be family. And don't forget about the core concepts of who we are, because success can drive us to do things that 5-10 years from now we look back and go, why did I do that? And for you, you've been forced to.
I'm going to comment here because I could relate to being in Gayles' shoes a little bit. I was 20 years in law enforcement. I had a steady job, a secure job. And, in the back of my mind, I always wanted to do something on my own, to create my own business, but I was scared. What if I fail? What if something goes wrong? And I had a safety net, thankfully, when I retired from law enforcement. I had a pension 20 years. So if I wasn't successful, at least I had something to fall back on. Gail, and I was scared to death. And Gail, I just can imagine how you feel not having that safety net.
No, I don't
pension.
have it.
But I spoke to you. We've spoken on at least once a week, and that's really why I'm so proud of you. And I've heard from you. I've always worked for the man. I've always wanted to make the man successful. You've worked for a paycheck. Well, I've seen a change in you that I'm not working for the man no more. I'm working for me. I'm going to be working for a lifestyle. Right?
Yes.
It's scary. It is scary. Okay? Even when you have that safety net. But you've taken that chance, you've taken that risk, and so far, by building up your, just doing a couple websites on local search and stuff like that, you've become successful. And that's why, I'm so proud of you, Gail.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Because success is mental. If you can get success in your mind and can grasp it, you will change. You will change who you are and what you do. And you're a testament of that. You've been there, and you realize that success looked differently than what you thought. And that's the process of growth. Growth reveals things. The quality things in life are on the top shelf. They aren't on the bottom shelf where everybody can reach them. They're on the top shelf. It takes growth to reveal things in who you are. Most people don't look at themselves and understand what they really want as a person. In an employee-employer relationship, it's never developed because the employer doesn't want it. I want you to sit in that cubicle and be happy with your two weeks of vacation and your pension. Because as an employer, it's security there. But for personal reasons, it's not who the core really is here. And developing that core within, it will take some time and effort to do this. One of the things that I used when I was starting to develop my own personal plan, Jim Rohn, one of the guys I listen to a lot, ROHN, a lot of videos on YouTube if you want to watch on him. He has you to go through and establish your perfect day. What does a perfect day look like? He goes, what's the color of your walls? Where's your house? Do you eat breakfast with your family or do you eat breakfast in bed? Go through absolutely everything. What car you drive, what shoes you put on, clothes you have on. Everything about a perfect day. Not the crazy day where you're jumping out of airplanes and stuff like that, because you can't do that every day. But the everyday concept. What would I totally enjoy to do every day? And when you start writing that down, it's amazing. I did it like 5 or 6 years ago, and I went back and looked at it, and some of them I'm going, what was I thinking? I was crazy. But a lot of it I'm like, wow, that is so true. And then you start doing it. It may be wake up at 6 a.m. or wake up at 5 a.m. But then what happens is when you start doing that, that's your perfect day in your head. It totally changes your perspective of life. Mine is every morning I try to eat breakfast with my kids. I don't show up at work at 8 o'clock in the morning. Steven shows up at work before I do, and he's 3 hours ahead of me. I don't. I spend 3 or 4 hours in the morning getting my kids out of bed, getting them ready for school, things like that. And then I'll go into work because that's what I see as a perfect day. So it will change for you. Let's go over here. Lisa.
I'm a little bit like Gail in that I've always worked for a corporate, like an agency, and so I've never worked on my own plan before. And so I spent a lot of time this year trying to put pieces of a puzzle in place, because it's really important to me to really feel like I know what I'm doing. And sometimes I always feel like there's some sort of elusive trick on the internet about how to succeed and how to do something that I'm not understanding, and that if I could just get that knowledge, I would be able to do that too. And my goals are really small, because the safety net idea of not having a pension, I'm not even sure Social Security will be around when I'm old enough to collect it, even though they've graciously let me pay into it for all these years. And so I'm looking, this is a piece of a puzzle. I've been working on some other goals. I just passed a test yesterday to get a pay-per-click certification.
Okay.
I'm looking for this, so that's on my resume too. I don't want to just be a consultant and do businesses for other people, because then I'm just a mini corporation of my own. I want to learn about affiliate marketing and establish a safety net where if at any point in time I lost my job, I would still be having enough money coming in on the side that I could support myself. And then if I had to turn full-time to that business, I could then support myself and keep going. And I wouldn't have to depend on the graciousness of some other person to hire me and let me come in their company and work my absolute tail off for them. Thank you so much. So the goals are definitely, if I had $10,000 a month, I don't know what I'd do with myself. I mean, I would just be like, it would be crazy. Because I'm so on a much lower scale, $5,000 a month would be amazing.
I just want to jump in here. I want to thank everybody for discussing your goals in public. It's important to do this. We'll speak a little bit about the science of influence, the science of persuasion, because when you verbally tell and speak your goals in public, there's a higher probability that you become successful. If you keep your goals private, you'll only be you only have a 17% chance of ever becoming successful. If you write them down, you have a little higher chance. You have a 27% chance of becoming successful. But when you verbalize them in front of others, you're making a commitment. You're making a promise to yourself, and it goes up significantly. Studies show, 47% increase. That's still not great, but it's a lot better than 17%. And this is one of the, I know you're here going, okay, and some of you that might be watching this video, okay, well, I thought this was an SEO training class. Well, we're going to get to that part, guys, okay? But we want to lay the foundation. A couple things are, David and I are trying to impress upon you is, that success is a journey. And during the next 3 days, you're going to have the skills, the tools, and know-how on how to do that, but we need to lay this foundation down first. And one of the foundations is to, hey, verbalize your skills, your goals in public. Now, reason we do this, and Ken, I know you were through some of the other stuff, so you probably heard me say this before. In 2007, David and I became very, very close friends. And David and I went to a number of other internet marketing training, like Stomper.
Big one.
All right, Stomper was the biggest SEO training firm at the time. And the membership was $400 a month to be a member.
800.
Oh, 800.
I did that.
Okay, it was $800. You're right. It was $799. I had a discount because I was a speaker. But it was $799 for
$799 per month.
Yeah.
And they did it for like 12 months.
Okay.
A year. Yeah.
All right. Now they had $2 million a month income, but what was problem with it? They were spending $4 million a month in expenses. All right. A lot of people didn't know that. I was kind of on the inside, knowing some stuff that was going on, and when they imploded upon themselves, I guess is a way to put it. When everything broke apart, students are going, well, I've been paying $7.99 a month, and I go to the library and they got this library here that was great, but you have this guy saying this my way is the better way, and don't listen to Joe. And then you go listen to Joe, and he says, oh, don't listen to Jack because his way is wrong. And did you feel confused?
Well, Stompernet in the beginning was great because they were doing what other people weren't doing. People are always saying, when you go to courses, this type of SEO stuff, people are saying, I'm making this much, blah, blah, like you just told us. It's true. Everyone goes and says, I'm making this much, blah, blah, blah. But they never really tell you how to do that, you know? And Stompernet was saying, do this step by step. Go here, send some articles, do this, do that. And that's how I got my websites to be top 3 for, and I'm talking about literally a lot of keywords. And I was getting a lot of traffic. The problem is I didn't have a good system in place, you know? Mm-hmm. That was my problem. But I did get good results with them. But then when things started to go wrong, you didn't have any support. You were sending emails, nobody was replying. They never get back to you. So there were this huge, very massive, let's say, business. But in the end, they were not really taking care of anybody.
Exactly.
They were putting the videos up, the blog posts, whatever, but when you needed them to explain something or whatever, nobody was there. And then the problem was they try very hard to make people think that they were very successful, but in the end, when you as a client know that no one is there, is because something's going on. So then I started searching online, what's up with Stompernet, and you could see, well, they owe so much money. They never paid their affiliates. It was a lie. So in the beginning it was really good, but then we discovered it was a lie. Yeah. And I met a lot of people in the same place. Oh, yeah. You were left with nothing.
And thank you. And it's better hearing that from somebody that actually went through it. So during the same time, as Stompernet was blowing up, David and we went to the students and said, what was the one thing that was missing from Stompernet that you wish you would have gotten? What was the overwhelming response, David?
A roadmap. I mean, that was the ongoing word. We want a roadmap to show us how to do it because they wanted to figure that out. And here we are. So
the overwhelming thing we heard, if they would have just given us an SEO roadmap to follow, we would have been more successful. And if there was a system in place, when we had a question, we could go back and ask those questions, and somebody would be there to listen to us. So this is the whole concept of what we're building here. We're building up a family. All right? I consider you part of our family. And to build this up, we're here to help you. I've been an instructor with the Search Engine Academy. I've been a speaker at Stompernet and some other venues. So I have access to students' records, per se, or the attendees. And I've gone back and asked them, okay, you've gone through this training. What have you done a year later? Have you done anything? And what I'd like to ask from you guys, what do you think is the percentage of students that actually took some sort of action?
Well, pretty high. I will say more than 90%.
You think it's 90%? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Anybody else? 50%? Anybody else? Well, I'm going to blow your socks away because it's only 17% that took any action. Now, you're an exception to the rule. You're part of that 17% because you went through Stompernet, you created a website, and you did something. All right? So you're part of that 17% that actually followed through. All right, now these are the averages. Now, out of that 17%, what do you feel is the average monthly income of that 17% that took action? Anybody want to guess?
3,000, I would say. My friend was making 4,000.
Dollars, pounds, euros.
$50. $50. Okay, now there's some exceptions to this again. You know, I mean, that they've launched successful businesses and they did stuff. Okay, let me give you an example of one student. All right, I was this was the same period. Stompernet had imploded, and I was in Orlando at an event, and I was speaking, and one of the students was there, and I gave my presentation during the morning, and after the presentation, he came up to me and says, Roy, I got to take you and your wife to dinner. I'm taking you to the fanciest restaurant in Orlando. I know this town. I said, cool. So he said, just be ready at the hotel at 5 o'clock, stand outside, and I'll have somebody pick you up. So I'm standing out there, and a big stretch limo comes. I go, wow, this guy knows what he's doing on the internet, right? So he picks us up, and we went to a very fancy restaurant there in Orlando, and he comes in and meets me, and we're sitting down, and so in the back of my mind, I said, man, this guy really has a successful business, man. I got to find out what he's doing and how he's done it, right? And so we're just talking back and forth, and then I finally, hey, what are you doing on the internet that you're making all this money? He says, Roy, honestly, I'm not doing anything at all. He goes, I've spent all this money. In this last 6 months, I spent $50,000, and I still haven't figured out what to do. And it wasn't until your presentation that I got the roadmap, and I decided what to do in steps. Okay? All right? So, again, we're not perfect, all right? But so far, we've tracked our students, and we've had an 80% success rate in 1 year, all right? So, and again, someone like Gayle, her success is, hey, I want to start a small little website and start doing SEO for other stuff. We've made 4 millionaires since we've done this in 2007, all right?
How many people?
Probably about, David, how many would you say have gone through the training? 200 that sat in this room. About 200. About 200 people. Our first workshop, the tire pressure monitor lady, Carol Sprague. All right. And then we have somebody like Josh Melberg that blows the SKUs way out. He was already making, how much money was he making a year?
He started, I think he was doing 2 to 3. Actually, it was less. No, because he was in a different company. But he was, when he fully came into the full training, we knew him before this and had worked with him before that. He was doing about 2 to 3 million a year. Now he's over 280 million a year. I don't know. So it really skews our data.
It's a financial company, okay?
Yeah.
And again, I know you're sitting here going, teach me this SEO stuff. We are, guys. But what I would need to impress upon you is that you have to understand some of the core concepts of being successful, taking that extra step, taking that risk, if you may, designing that website like Gayle did, putting it up there, or like Carol Sprague. Her first website was the ugliest website I've ever seen, but she at least took that step and took that chance and took that risk and did something. So we're taking what we've learned here, and David's going to talk to you. You're going to have goal sheets. You're actually going to write down goals during this class, and we're going to hold you accountable. You're going to have an accountability partner in this class. So during the next 3 days, find somebody that you're going to be friends with that once a week you could call up and then say, hey, and then what we're doing is we're going to follow up with you and say, and then we'll have some meetup calls online, and we're going to say, okay, Val, your goal in the class was to do this. What have you done? Well, when somebody's holding you accountable, what happens?
You kind of get your shit done.
You kind of get your shit done, all right? Because you don't want to be on the call. Well, the dog ate my homework.
You don't join the call, right?
Yeah.
You finally.
All right. So we hold you accountable, and that's why, and it doesn't matter. Just come up with something, and as we go through this whole thing, I just want you to think for the next 3 days, one goal that you're going to accomplish next week. It could be a very simple goal, all right? And let's start out small. And then as we go on through our family, we're going to make this goal bigger and bigger and bigger and make us both successful. Because this is a two-way street, all right? We want to help you become successful, and by helping you become successful, what do you do to us? You're holding our feet to the fire, you're holding us accountable, and you're making us successful. So David, yours.
All right, let's plow into this.